I am Mariatu Sidibe and this is Qtv News coming to you live from our studios along Caraba Avenue. Thanks for joining us. Here are the main local, international and sports news headlines. Discarded blank voters' cards were found outside a compound. The vice chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission has moved to allay public fears about the transparency of elections later this year. The renowned former Inspector General of Police Landing Tatin Badji died on Thursday in Dakar, Senegal, after battling a long illness. An international human rights lawyer and lead counsel of the Truth Commission, Esa Mbaye gave a public lecture to MDI students on United Nations post-conflict recovery at the UTG Law Faculty. People of African descent who wish to call the Gambia home have called on government to relax conditions for gaining citizenships. In international news, we have a roundup of stories from around Africa. In sports, investments in football in Western countries by Chinese companies have not reaped the expected rewards, and now the majority are pulling out. Those were our main headlines. Now the news in detail. Following reports of the discovery of outdated voters' cards in Kanifing, the vice chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission has refuted claims made by some members of the public that the cards are valid and may be used to rig the upcoming elections. More in this report by Ajibintu Drame.
According to the Standard newspaper, about 50 blank cards similar to the Gambian voters' cards were dumped at one Molaminjikine's compound gate in Kanifing, as the cards bear the name and logo of the IEC as the issuing authority. This has generated adverse comments about the IEC's transparency in this year's election. The vice chairman of the IEC, Joseph Colley, said these cards were old stock from the 2011 and 2016 voter registration exercises, and the cards are presently being disposed of to create space for the upcoming voter registration exercise.
We've been using, some of these materials we've been using since, we inherited some from the First Republic. And then for the past 20 years or so, all those materials that have been, put together. So we've felt that, it's time to dispose of some of these materials. And we started with election house. So it's going to be an exercise throughout the country. All the regional offices, we're going to dispose of these materials. Now, we started with the election house, and unfortunately, because this is within the vicinity, the election house is located in Kanifing. So, of course, if you're disposing, some of these blank cards were picked by people and they found their way.
Joseph Colley calls on the public to trust the IEC with regards to transparency, as stringent mechanisms are in place to ensure a free, fair and transparent election.
People don't even know how we're going to do the numbering. So the numbering of the cards, they are not even printed. The numbering of the cards for these coming elections or coming voter registration will be different from the other one. So we've almost changed, most of these things. So we will know. And then the database is going to be in such a way that each machine, we will know each card that is printed, each machine. Once we will know the machine, the laptop that prints the card. So that's the beauty of this. So these are all, and we will also know the time of printing of the card. So even like we stop work at 5 and then you print a card at 6 o'clock, we will know that the card is out of time. I just want to assure and allay the fears of the people that we are on track. Yes, we are on track, and we'll make sure. Maybe subsequently, what we're going to do is, if we are going to dispose of those materials in the regions, what we're going to do is maybe we'll call the media, call the security, and call the political parties, at least some of the stakeholders to witness. This. I think with this process, because people want more transparency, so maybe we will do that in the future.
The vice chairman said 713 registration centers and 220 teams are set for the voters' registration. He also adds that everybody should play their part in ensuring a fair and transparent election.
As I said earlier on in my swearing, I said, election is not a job for me. It's a call. for me to serve my country, to be a referee, an independent referee, and an upright referee. Yeah.
The IEC Vice Chairman further stated that there will be a 16-day training exercise for this year's voters' registration to avoid any mistakes in the registration exercise. Ajibintu Drame, QTV News.
The renowned former Inspector General of Police Landing Tatin Badji died on Thursday in Dakar, Senegal, after battling a long illness. He was laid to rest on Friday in Fonyi Kalaji. Aliou Cissé reports.
Tatin Badji, as he was widely known, is being remembered by many as a professional policeman whose ideas and conduct earned him a lot of admiration among his comrades and the public. Between 2006 and 2008, former IGP Landing LKY Badji had served as senior police advisor in the troubled region of Darfur, Sudan. He was one of the first police officers in Darfur who commenced the UN peacekeeping mission as the leader of the light support package to the African Union. Badji later became regional commander, and in 2009, he was moved to the humanitarian unit to become officer in charge of Nyala region. His duties were extended beyond policing. On March 29, 2016, at the UNAMID Sector East head of office, Landing Badji harvested the first cashew tree which had been planted in Darfur in 2014. Since then, the office has distributed more than 15,000 seedlings to communities in and around Ilden. In late 2016, the Ministry of Education, East Darfur, requested more cashew seedlings to be planted in all schools in the state. He was the head of office in Ilden until 2019 when he returned to the Gambia. Yero Jallo, a social commentator in a tribute to Badji, remembers the former IGP as a bright star, a true patriot, committed fighter for democracy, truth and justice, and a dedicated public servant. In 2005, Landing Badji was awarded the CRG Commander Order of the Republic of the Gambia. Tatin Badji was laid to rest today, Friday, at his hometown, Kalaji in Fonyi, West Coast region. He is gone, but the name Tatin Badji will continue to live on. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
May his soul rest in perfect peace. Renowned international human rights lawyer and lead counsel of the Truth Commission, Esambai Fall, on Friday gave a public lecture to hundreds of MDI students on the United Nations post-conflict recovery at the UTG Law Faculty. Ansumana Esonyasi reports.
In the course of this hearing, however, your honors will hear prosecution evidence of details of what actually happened before, during, and after the attack on the African Union base in Haskanita on 29 September.
Highly revered for his international exploits, especially in prosecuting alleged perpetrators of crimes against humanity, Esa Fall, who currently serves as lead counsel at the Gambia's Truth Commission that is probing rights violations under ex-President Jammeh, Friday gave a 2-hour-long public lecture to MDI students pursuing various courses in diplomacy and international relations. The lecture, which is aimed at giving students an understanding of various UN post-conflict recovery mechanisms, forms part of a module on UN systems. Addressing the gathering, Pulanda Unjai, MDI Head of Diplomacy and International Relations Department, and Sir Omar Fai, MDI spokesperson, conveyed messages of gratitude to Lawyer Fall for honoring their invitation and enjoined students to make best use of what they describe as a rare opportunity.
This public lecture is a model under the department pursued by both the peace and conflict students, likewise the diplomacy students. So the organization of the program is timely and it is very important.
He has got a very rich track record of judicial experience over so many years ago, over 20 years ago, and has actually manifested that his stance on defending human rights across the globe is something that he has decided to dedicate his time on.
During his lecture, Lawyer Fall highlighted the importance of such events that he says gives academic institutions and members of the public a chance to learn and interact before delving into the various UN systems and the ICC, where he also served in the past. He also expounded on the role of the UN Security Council, various stages in drafting of UN resolutions, and how UN uses diplomacy to end or prevent conflicts.
By the late 90s, the Cold War had ended. The UN Security Council enjoyed greater flexibility and cooperation among its members. which really created a boon for the UN in the sense that the United Nations could now engage in a range of activities and mandates for peacekeeping operations, which previously would be unthinkable.
Fanta Cisse is the vice president of the NBI Students' Union. She says Friday's event is highly symbolic as it is the first of its kind in the history of the school's Diplomacy and International Relations Department.
As a peace and conflict student, I see that it is really important for an iconic man like Mr. Ensafal to be with us today. And alhamdulillah, all the lectures went well and we have really learned a lot. And we will also thank him for leaving all his busy schedules and then coming to give us lectures today.
Fal, a Gambian international lawyer, has served at the International Criminal Court in various capacities, including defense counsel for a number of high-profile cases, and led the prosecution in the infamous Darfur investigations, which led to the indictment of several senior members of the Sudanese government. He also served as co-lead defense counsel for a number of cases in the ICC relating to Kenya, Liberia, Libya, and the Philippines. Individuals he has defended include Mohamed Hussein Ali, William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, and Francis Mutaura between 2011 and 2016, and served as counsel for former Liberian President Charles Taylor, as well as Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, son of ex-Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. He was appointed chief prosecutor for the Gambia's Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission in 2018. Answane Sonyasi for Qtv News.
We will take a commercial break. Still to come, we have some more local and international news stories. Welcome back. A gathering called Unity in the Community, organized by the Council of African Descendants and Blackzit to discuss citizenship and investment in the country, was held on Wednesday at a local hotel in Kololi. Babakar C reports.
The gathering was called to further engage stakeholders and decision makers, particularly National Assembly members, on citizenship and possible investment in the country by people of African descent. They called the Gambia home and argued that their great-grandparents were captured and taken to the West as slaves. They are back home to their ancestral land and want to be allowed in as citizens. Some of them have invested heavily in the socio-economic development of the country, but the current law has a 15-year residency requirement before they can apply for citizenship. They are now urging the Gambia government and people to accept and welcome them back home. Aliou Faye, the Alcalo of Busura, believe the Gambia government should act now and accept the African descendants.
He said it here, 15 years is too much. I think we have started it. The Gambia has started the integration process well before Ghana, I think, if I'm right. But now Ghana is far ahead of Gambia. Why? What's the problem? Are they not Gambians? For us, Busra, they are Gambians. And then we should accept them as Gambians. And I'm urging the government, the president, to fast track, to consider them and then fast track the citizenship. It's now overdue.
The ambassador at large for business opportunities and investment, Modu Lamin Sima, encouraged the African descendants to feel free and invest in every sector they wish to and consider the Gambia their home.
And as I used to tell to the Black Seed group, action speaks louder than voice. If government is seeing that these African Americans or the diaspora want to come and settle back to their own foreign land or land of ancestors, and then they are coming with a different, they are coming participating positively in the socio-economic development of that society, there is no government that is going to reject that is going to say no to that, that initiative. You people are in the Gambia, peacefully residing in the Gambia, trying to create investment opportunity for Gambians. There is no way you are not going to have the support of the president and particularly the Gambia government.
Juliet Ryan, the co-founder of Black Seed YouTube channel, which has almost 3 million views, has a special message for the Gambia's president.
We are a part of this community, and we are a part of Africa. You are us, and we are you. There is no separation between us. If we hadn't have been taken, our ancestors had not have been taken in slavery, we would not have had to make this journey. We did not have a choice. We were taken by force. And 400 years to wait for a welcome is too long. Let's change the Constitution to remember us, because we're not included. This can be done via a private member's bill.
Juliet added that if Ghana can accommodate African descendants in their homeland, why not Gambia?
$1.9 billion raised in less than 1 year. I'm going to say it one more time. $1.9 billion raised in less than 1 year. Why? Because you open the door to your family, your African descendants. You open the door to us. We have been waiting for an audience with the president since the 27th of December 2019. We have seen everybody come and get an audience with the president but us.
According to the members of the council, their ancestors were not subjected to any citizenship laws or immigration laws when they were unlawfully kidnapped and taken as slaves. Now they are calling on the government of the Gambia through the president to heed their plea, saying they don't mind going through a 2-year process to satisfy government requirements to be given citizenship like Ghana, Sierra Leone and other African countries are doing in embracing and welcoming its descendants back home. Babu Karsi, Qtv News.
In international news, here's a roundup of African news stories by Aliou Cissé.
A Burkina Faso court has charged former President Blaise Compaoré in absentia on Tuesday in connection with the 1987 murder of then President Thomas Sankara, one of the most infamous killings in Africa's post-independence history. A military tribunal charged Compaoré with complicity in the assassination, undermining state security. Compaoré's former right-hand man, General Gilbert Gendere, who has been in prison since a failed coup in 2015, was also charged with several crimes related to Sankara's killing, including complicity in the assassination. Sankara, a charismatic Marxist revolutionary, often called Africa's Che Guevara, was assassinated during a coup led by his childhood friend Compaoré. Compaoré, who has previously denied any involvement in Sankara's death, went on to rule Burkina Faso for 27 years before being ousted in a 2014 uprising and fleeing to neighboring Ivory Coast, where he is believed to be residing. Sankara, who seized power in a 1983 coup at the age of 43, was known for his trademark military fatigues and red beret and rejection of lavish lifestyle. In 4 years as president, Sankara became the first African leader to denounce the menace of AIDS, took a stand against the International Monetary Fund and World Bank, and promoted women's rights by opposing FGM. Burkina Faso issued an arrest warrant for Compaoré in 2015, but Ivory Coast has declined to hand him over. South Africa's ex-president Jacob Zuma has rejected a request by the country's top court to suggest what punishment he should face if found guilty of contempt of court. Zuma faces possible sanctions for failing to appear in February before the Zondo Commission looking into corruption during his presidency. Mr. Zuma was given until Wednesday to file an affidavit no longer than 15 pages to the Constitutional Court by Chief Justice Moge Mogiang. However, in a 21-page letter to the Chief Justice, the former president said he had concluded that there was an inexplicable judicial apathy towards him. Mr. Zuma, who resigned as president under pressure in 2018, facing numerous allegations of corruption, has repeatedly cast himself as a victim of conspiracy. Zuma reiterated at length that he had no faith in the judiciary. The Zondo was set up by Zuma, who now believes that it had not been established correctly, was controlled by his political force. Zuma says the court doesn't have the jurisdiction to try him and has dared the court to send him to jail. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
Now, here is some sports news. Since 2014, the powers in Beijing planned to make China a football superpower by 2050, and wealthy investors quickly set out to invest in football both in China and abroad. According to British sports economist Simon Chadwick, the Chinese government now know that there aren't the financial or playing returns associated with making such an investment. Babakar C has more.
Since 2014, the powers in Beijing have had plans to make China a football superpower by 2050, and wealthy investors quickly set out to invest in football both in China and abroad. According to British sports economist Simon Chadwick, the Chinese government now know that there isn't financial returns or playing returns associated with making such an investment. Investors are already leaving. In 2017, there were 20 European clubs owned by major Chinese investors. Today, there are just 10. The Communist Party says it believes the Europeans have taken advantage of the willingness of the Chinese investors to finance their football clubs without offering anything in return. China's approach is quite a contrast to that taken by Arab investors. In England, Manchester City are still bankrolled by Arab money, as are Paris Saint-Germain in France. Although both those clubs have become serial champions in their respective countries, their owners cannot expect to ever recoup their expenditures on these clubs. As the most high-profile league in the world, the English Premier League offers brand visibility. Chinese investors don't appear satisfied with that. According to a report by DW, China's withdrawal can have a major impact on the game in Europe. One example is Inter Milan, which is owned by the Shuning Holding Group, operated by the billionaire Xing family. The Ren Group, whose Beijing club also lost its license, owns a majority stake in English second-tier club Reading. Apart from failing their investment target, China failed to meet its football goals for 2020. In 2018, the Chinese Football Association announced the aim of getting its men's national team to the top 70 of the FIFA World Cup rankings by this year. At the moment, they are at 77th. Their women's team are faring much better and are currently ranked 15th in the world. Babakar C, QTV News.
Before we end this bulletin, let's take a quick look at our main stories. After discarded blank voters' cards were found outside a compound, the vice chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission has moved to allay public fears about the transparency of elections later this year. The renowned former Inspector General of Police Landing Tatin Badji died on Thursday in Dakar, Senegal, after battling a long illness. International human rights lawyer and lead counsel of the Truth Commission, Esambay Fall, has given a public lecture to MDI students on United Nations post-conflict recovery at the UTG Law Faculty. People of African descent who wish to call the Gambia home have called on government to relax conditions for gaining citizenship. In international news, we also had a roundup of stories from around Africa. In sports, investments in football in Western countries by Chinese companies have not reaped the expected rewards, and now the majority are pulling out. That's all what we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Do join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you for watching and have a good night.